3 families are controlling everything in our country. Literally.
What are those families?
I don't think I've got enough bank balance to go toe to toe with them, but you all know them. But they control the country. Find the banking, it's them. The mining is them. The transportation is them. The mines and everything. So my view is that, and those are the areas when you said, is the ANC still relevant? It's the area where we need to go. We can't have 3 families or 1% of people controlling the economy of the country. It does not work that way.
This is the Hustlers Corner.
Hustlers and squatters, friends and family, and people from all over the world, welcome to Johannesburg. This is DJ Swoo, and thank you to the Prism Awards. We are Podcast of the Year, and we're inspired to keep growing by other podcasts that are doing well in the space. So we appreciate you, Prism Awards, for recognizing our efforts on our small growing platform. It's quite a beautiful thing, the things that we learn from all the different guests that get to come through. By the way, in case you knew, our platform is an educational platform. We just want to learn. It's funukhabula. First up, as usual, we go straight to that sharp sign on the count of 1, 2, 3. Click that like button. Click, 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 click. Thank you very much. Let's click the subscription button. Click. Don't forget to switch on that notification bell. When you look at the description at the bottom over there, you'll see 5 links. The first link takes you to our Monday show, but it's also becoming its own podcast. It's called Virtual Mkuku, featuring Penuel the Black Pen, who was supposed to be here, but he said I must convey his apologies. This episode actually was a Virtual Mkuku episode, and Penuel was excited. He was very excited for this guest. I think I've got so many questions, and unfortunately, Penuel, my brother, get well soon. He's under the weather, guys. He's got some flu. But the show goes on, and thank you for plugging in. The next link you're going to get is Penuel's page. Click on it, subscribe on his page. The next link you're going to get is my personal YouTube. Click on it, it'll take you there. The next link you're going to get is a Morfire merchandise shop link. It'll take you there, or for Morfire stock, or for anybody that's interested in the Morfire brand. And then the 5th link you're going to get is from Ekasi Noble Property Development for potential property investors or property buyers or people who are interested in buying land for themselves, especially around their Bears-Nodier area. We've got a beautiful upcoming estate there called Greengate Estate. It's going to be around Bears-Nodier, next to N14, off-ramp away from Lanseria Airport, away not far from Cradle of Humankind, Silver Star Casino, not far from the Northgate Mall. There's schools there, beautiful, beautiful development. So click onto Ekasi Noble Property Development and go to their platform. Go ask them as many questions as possible that they have. Land is available, building packages are available, property from lockups and go, 1, 2 bedrooms to about 3 bedrooms. You can build your own home. There's also opportunities for Randfontein in a place called Green Hills. There's also another townhouse development coming up in a place called Robin Park in Randfontein. So click on that Ekasi Noble Property Development link. It'll take you there for those who are interested in getting into property, people like me who are property investors and all those hustlers out there. You guys have been asking for him. He's sitting here today. And it so happens to be a mentor of mine when I was in Doana, Tembisa. When I started working at Voice of Tembisa at the time, it was called Tembisa Info Radio.
Yeah.
Somebody was there for me when I was nobody. And just to see him rise and just grow as a leader till today. And that's how I always say it's supposed to be. When somebody mentors you, they also supposed to be on their A game, so that one day when you are older, you are able to say, Nyabonga. And for me, I wanted to take this opportunity of this episode. Guys, mentorship is very important. I get a lot of youngsters today who come to me, because maybe it's youngsters who were either watching me over the years, whether maybe something I said or somehow I mentored them from a distance, or some whom I've had a direct impact onto their lives, always come to me and thank me. So I want to take this opportunity and say, for Mini Grootmani, for Tina, as citizens of this country, is our leader, and for a lot of us who are disgruntled about the current leadership that's happening in the country, these are some of the people we are relying on, and we want answers from them. And one of the things that I like, he's got an open door policy. He's always available to tackle any issue, whether over the phone, whether anything, even whether he's under the heat, he's being attacked. He always addresses people, and he always is there for any type of question. And for the role that you've played in my life, Tembisa ngikhumbula bosavange Alfa Romeo 145.
Ibiza Korati 2. 145.
Ladies and gentlemen, let me give you his resume for those who don't come from South Africa. He's known professionally as the great Mr. Panyaza Lesufi. When you come from Tembisa, we call him the great. You know, you'd know his work from Ekasi. He is a South African politician. He's been serving as the Gauteng ANC for education since 2014, and he had a brief interruption in 2019. He was appointed the Gauteng MEC for finance and e-government in May, around that time in 2019. He returned to the post of education MEC a day later, and I was very, very exposed to him at the time because we did a lot of work in the schools of Ekurhuleni with my own education foundation, and I was privy to be first-hand and frontline seat to see his amazing work that he was doing at the time. I think some people who come from Ekurhuleni would know a lot of the work he was doing at the time. He's also a member of the Gauteng Provincial Legislature for the African National Congress in South Africa, for those who don't come from this country, and the chairperson of the party in the province, as well as the member of the of the South African Communist Party, Gauteng MEC for Education, African National Congress chairperson, and he's just been newly elected, and I just want to say for that, congratulations. Your resume is too long. I can't read all of it.
Thanks, man. What else? Buddha? Nice to see you, man. And I must be honest, you are one of those people that makes me blush and be excited with happiness, because you took an opportunity, you know. I always tell people life is about taking that opportunity and growing with it. I mean, I remember when you were still a student, when you grew in the broadcasting industry. We're starting a small radio station in Tembisa. I was in the board, and I was just amazed when I looked at your talent and the way you're committed. You know, even when you have to come back, you didn't say, I'll go to home first and come to the radio. You'll spend time there, assist us, just to grow the brand. And you went on to be a musician that made all of us proud. Was Guptas ngamadolo. Broadcasting better than us, YFM and many other stations. So you made us proud. You made us proud. I said, no, le. And once more, you are the biggest risk taker that I know in my life. Even when I go through my own personal difficulties, no, but this Buddha we can do it. You know, you brought a drink, more fire for all of us. You went on radio, brought. And now you are on this thing, and maybe I must apologize to make G, because I have to start at home at G before I come.
Did he invite you?
He did.
By the way, we are in alliance now.
Oh, that's good. No, he did.
Shout out to McG. You had the CIC last week, by the way. Congratulations, guys. An amazing interview, and the CIC dropped some good political knowledge. I was very happy to see so many thousands of young people tuning in, which gave me so much joy. With at least they're hearing the right political information to be inspired and to be politically conscious. So don't worry, sir. McG and us, we are in alliance. We work together. I'm shy. McG's come kwatela, boss. Lena after kita mali CIC kai leno tamokrea kata.
But also your contribution on education project, my brother. I must be honest, you had so many kids that are now qualified, graduate because of your bursary scheme. The love of books. I remember a young man that was under the bridge collecting books, who supported that young man. So I'm you know, when my office told me that DJ Sbu said he wants to host in your podcast, they know I normally say no to such things. But when I say it's Sbu, I said it's on. So it's on, madam.
Ngiyabonga kakhulu and sibonga
fire by fire.
I'm going to take you many years back. I do know, Guti, there's a lot of political questions that people would have loved to have had.
Feel free.
I also would have loved to have had Upbringing here, because there's got so many questions to ask you. We'll probably handle that later when you revisit us again in a couple of months, or later this year or next year.
It's important, so I'll be sharp.
Yeah. But for now, let me start you from way back. I mean, I'd like to hear your story. I've never heard you share about your upbringing, man.
Brian, I don't know. I'm one person that allowed life to dictate to me. I never said I want to do this. I never said I want this kind of life. I never said I'm going to study this thing so that I become an accountant and other things. So I just allowed life and society to influence me. I'm one person that believes in protection, care, and support. So whatever that will allow me to protect, care, and support something, I will allow myself. So I grew up in Tembisa, 1628, and we had the packet system, and we had a serious oppressive system, because when I grew up, my parents told me that they were originally from Edenvale, or they call it Dindela. Yeah, and they were forcefully removed from there. I'm told it's where Greenstone is now.
Yeah.
So they were forcefully removed to Tembisa. And when I grew up, I remember I was very young. And the first time I saw something big, it was in June 16, because I went, it's up
Yeah, baby Tom.
yeah. 16th of June. And there was this violence, all this thing. And the teacher, I still remember the teacher, Matli. I hope she's still fine, Mistress Matli.
No, okay, no, okay.
Kotlamatlam.
Oh, no, okay,
Yeah,
Kotlamatlam. Okay,
Kotlamatlam,
sure.
yeah.
Shout out to Tlamatlama, Makulong,
So when there was this violence, she blocked the door. Then I saw this thing. It's a big thing. I didn't know what is it. I said, bomb. So I pushed the ma'am from the door, trying to run away from what I call a bomb. Can't be parachute in advertise omo. So it was the first time that thing brought memories of protecting, loving, and all other things. And from there on, I grew like any other person. I used to love Ama Ali. When they're new, they're so bright, sparkling. So I didn't even want to play with them, because I love the sparkling components, Ama Ali, Netopo, my beggar, I shy top. Yeah, I used to love a new top. Iyo then was a masterpiece. Playing Iyo, Nekite during August, we'll do kite, and then December time, so Gangene Tembisa, starting Kuni, City Fire, and put for New Year's Day. So I grew up in that environment of collectiveness and other things. But I got my name from football. I loved football. So when I was growing up, Amachita Manata, I Kamala Confeta, Hendrik, it's not. I Kamala Hendrik, Simnandi. So there was one chap playing soccer for Swallows called Andres Panyaza Maseko. So no. Then from now on, we are Panyaza. So everyone was calling me Panyaza, but when my parents started to call me Panyaza, I knew that's a name. So I grew up with that name and wanted to, because, as I say, protection and care was something that was very, very close to me. And there was this municipality, Super. I only knew late now what Super means, superintendent.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Super.
Yeah. So, because everyone was scared about this Super. When I grew up, I wanted to be Super, but the Super with love, who will love people, take care of them. So that's the only career option that I had. But then someone whispered and said, no, you can't be Super. Super is for white people.
Yeah.
And then many people were playing horses at that time. I mean, I Captain Pagekon in Erenkin.
Yeah.
So people will then on my weekend, because batting Cleviniana. So I'll go there in your pechamash. But I figure up Yavona Masha corner, man. I give a labelung time. Maybe Nami, Mangbe joke, so that I want to be proud to Kune Hashley. I remember I went to around Albertine, Bogne race course lap. Mang figured up Bang Booza would Nakona Bang Jela would die. Horses are only ridden by white people, so you can't. But they use an excuse. We are tall as well. We need short people. So when I grew up, this thing of things being for white people only, started to really invade my space, and I started to interrogate why I wanted to be soup. I was told it's white people. I wanted to be a jockey. I'm told it's white people. Then my father said, "Hey, Fred, you are old now. You must go and get a pass, a Captain Park lapha." So smell up Ogmo station. Ikari ayeza yabona. Ayayenza le gado le man. Tidily. Wendaweni zabodaki. So ngitshela all the time ukuthi man time akiboni side inyongwe empty bathu baduthi fela. No, it's for white people. So you can't be in that dinner. We must but hanging ngemnyango ugcwele but fanele sidwadle la. So that consciousness then started to really invade my space. My elder brother then also was politically involved. Then he went to exile, and I asked, "What is the exile?" No. Exile, So then the politics came in. I joined the student movement, and from the student movement, I was elected secretary SRC there. And it's Buddha. I didn't know what the secretary is. So I ngibuza inyawuthi mfethu bathi ngisecretary ngenzani but parliament minutes okay during one meeting but no parliament minutes umuntu makakhuluma ngikhuluma sibuda 8 minutes khulume 3 minutes khulume 9. So when they said I must recite minutes when mangikhuluma kanja people laughed at me but fortunately immediately after that I was arrested under the state of emergency, and then I went to prison. I met galaxy of leaders, Amos Masondo, the first president, Ekasi. So I met many big people in prison, and then they shaped me. I had to write my matric in prison, actually. And after writing my matric, fortunately, I was the only one that passed. I remember when they came with these certificates. Took a failed rugby poles, Motoli H, but rugby poles. And then when it came to my name, I remember that person looking at me and say, "Don't waste this talent." I said, "Which talent?" I don't know, amongst all these people that are here, you are the only one that have passed with exemption. It warmed my heart. I remember police were looking for me, but I took that certificate and I ran to my mom and said, "Mommy, amongst our peers, I'm the only one that..." And my mom was not that educated. They just said, "I must take you out of Tembisa." And then they shipped me to KZN. I remember my mom went to some organizations, but no, Mara University of Natal. And I've never been outside Tembisa. So when they took me to Natal, I said, "Exine North, time I think I ate tiger, Exine." So because angazi distance ne Natal injani ne Durban injani, I've never been there. So I just have this idea, Spuda, with university fanele be building and emhlophe, then it means the university. So maseteksini, my five. Eish mangit, ngona le building and ngitshela taxi drive, man. Ungakhohle the University of Natal at time and we are still in Heidelberg. So I grew. Then when I arrived at Natal, fortunately, a student loved me. I don't know. I have this lack of being loved. A student loved me. They elected me the president of the SRC there, and I led the student formations, and the rest is history.
Oh, that is incredible.
Yeah.
Your career, I mean, I got exposed to it when I first started knowing you then.
Yes.
Yeah, from my youth days as a teenager.
Yes.
17, 18, Nkale Voice of Tembisa.
Yeah.
That's when I started getting exposed to you. Because now in Ekasi, you look at La Mandela inspiring.
Yeah.
When at that time, was Kapa, Shange Karetop, so you were those Grotmans and I was really, really honored that you embraced me as,
thanks,
in Ndwana as a leadership of the voice at the time of Tembisa Info Radio.
Yeah. And you were talented, man. I must say it so that people know that what you are doing now does not out of nowhere. You put the energy, you put your talent there, and you sacrificed, and that's what, when the studio was established and you'll come, that's still stuck in my mind. So you'll see this young man fix things, make things, promos and other. So I knew the languages of radio at that time. Yeah.
And let's talk about your contribution in becoming the leadership of the Voice of Tembisa and the importance of what that station has been to our township, and you choosing to be involved.
Actually, if I didn't do what society or I was dictated by pressures around me, I will definitely be in the media space. Before I established the Voice of Tembisa, I established what was called DYR, Durban Youth Radio. It was a campus radio first, and we converted it into Durban Youth Radio. Actually, it was called DMR at that time. It was just a campus radio station when we allowed the license. But when we were establishing Durban Youth Radio, you could not just establish a radio. You needed to be trained and other things. So we were trained by David O'Sullivan. They were with what at that time it was called Capital 604 something. It was based in Durban, around the beachfront there. So they trained us. So I had love of it. So when we left the university and were told that we're establishing community radio station, I took that interest from there and then established with Raymond Dimkwe, we established then Tembisa Info Radio. Today is known as Tembisa.
Voice of Tembisa.
Voice of Tembisa, yeah. And I'm proud to see that it's still there.
Yeah. And let me also mention the names like Mr. Kenima Major.
Yes, Kenima Major.
And Mr. Reynold Nkwe and Lee.
Sunny Boy Masengi.
Yes, Sunny Boy. And he's still there even now. Tama Khotman.
Yeah.
Tough for recognizing a talent in a young man like me. Before I was DJ Spoo, you saw something in me. And thank you for changing my life.
Yeah.
I just want to give you guys those flowers while you can still see them.
Thank you so much.
I must not forget
Rapaps.
Uprapaps na yola mlabo but elinye khotmani man beli teknyana beli Voice of Tembisa na but ke mang ke batlo mo mention go zo tlo nkwatela ka bona dileng. But anyway, let's talk about politics now. We've got a lot of young people who are becoming politically conscious. They're watching the internet. Let's take you back in those days. We're talking about the townships now. What was or what is the Group Areas Act?
Well, the Group Areas Act meant that you needed to be in your township before dawn, before it was late, probably before 6 o'clock, and that you're separated on the base of the color of your skin. So you couldn't be, I grew up in Tembisa, I couldn't be in Kempton Park after 6 p.m. If you are Tembisa's registration point, you can't be outside Tembisa during certain periods. So you need permission to get outside. So Group Areas Act was the cornerstone of apartheid. It was brutal. It was painful. It was closing out opportunities, which simply means even if you find an opportunity and you are still preparing something, you have to leave to go back where you stay. And it was biting, I must be honest. It was biting because they elevated it with something called Section 10. So Section 10 was a special permit that allows you to work and so they can just look at you and say, no, you can't do this kind of a job. You can only do gardening. You can only do security. You can only you can't train either to be a broadcaster or any other thing. Those things were not even there. So the Group Areas Act was the cornerstone of apartheid. It confined you to Tembisa or Soweto. You couldn't go to any other area. And where they felt, just like I indicated to you that my parents said they come from Edenvale, where they felt that we were staying too close to white people, they will then evict you. And that is why we moved away from Edenvale to Tembisa.
It's very important for me to bring up that question because it informs what we know today as Amakasi and why why Amakasi are a little bit far away from a town. It's very important for young people to understand.
Know that, yes.
And then let's talk about the actual ANC. I mean, it was started in 1912 and there were leaders and it became a movement of you guys being young, being politically conscious at school, an organization that you belong to, that you felt it could make an impact and make change in the country.
It was automatic, to be quite frank, as Buddha. I was recruited by default to be in the ANC. I indicated I love arts and culture. I love acting. I love things that keep people entertained. The underground structures of the ANC, they were mobilizing students. But after school, I will have my own one-man show and other. So when they come and mobilize, students will prefer to come to my shows rather than to ANC activities. Or at that time, it was student COSAS, Tembisa Youth Congress, TEICO. So there's a guy called Kennedy Nkwana. He's a very tall guy, still alive here, Tembisa. Kennedy came to me and said, Chief, when we call people for community meeting or student for a meeting, they don't come, they come to you. So why can't we allow you to perform first in our meetings and thereafter we'll come with the politics? I said, no, I'm just doing it for fun. Actually, the person that we're hosting here, before I came here.
The great Franz Mkhize.
Yeah, over Franz Mkhize. They had a show called Matari. It used to tour many townships. There was a gentleman called Pitso Molefe in Tembisa. He used to do drama. So I was attending those sessions. And then after school, then I will come and repeat what they were doing. So when I was recruited, it was on the basis that come and entertain people. But they then started to give me storylines. They started to give me. I remember the first story. It was on Nelson Mandela, that he was in prison. Some of his family members were passing on, and he was not allowed to come and attend the funeral or be part of a funeral activity. So they then gave me those storylines, and from there, I came across this document called the Freedom Charter. We're at a Matole cinema, the local cinema,
Yeah, there were two prominent cinemas, Matole and Nepo.
And Nepo, yes. Whereas Matole cinema, and they were distributing this document. I just fell in love with it, Here is a document, because when I grew up, as I told you, I was told this is whites only, this is what. So here's this document speaking about all-inclusive, loving, caring, together, sharing, and all other things. So that document won my heart, and unfortunately it became the painful part of me, because when police came to search at home, they got the document, the Freedom Charter, and they charged me to say I was carrying a banned document, a terrorist document, and other things. But I loved it. And then when I went to prison, when I saw all those leaders that were in prison, I was just automatically hooked to the ANC. It was caring, loving. It was a movement that resonated with what I want, peace, and all other things. And the leaders were, and that is why now you feel heard, because our leaders at that time, people loved them. People loved Mandela. People loved Sisulu. People loved Solomon Mahlangu. So we felt that we belonged to a galaxy of leaders that are loved by society. Even when people were making jokes, it was about Mangope, Matanza. So our people could not even make a joke about them, because there was nothing bad you can say about them. But we can't say it now, unfortunately.
Why can't you say it now?
Because they've made lots of mistakes. We forgot why we joined this movement. We put our personal interest above the interest of our people. We became inward focused, and we want everything to belong to us at all costs. So any other person that is not any other person that is standing on your way, regardless if it's a comrade, you feel that they should. But we have leaders that, they are jokes. If people have to make, nowadays, you call it amameme.
Memes, yeah.
Yeah, so you'll have our leaders there. But when you grew up, our leaders were something that you can't even make a joke of. So it's just unfortunate, it's a turn of events.
And some people attribute a lot of the things that are happening now to the corruption that people hear a lot about. Do you think that will come to an end, or will it come to an end as an ANC leader? And
No, it will.
As you are rising up the ranks.
Yeah, it will. It must. It's just that the limitation is that those that oppressed us, they find an excuse to ridicule our struggle through corruption. And I will not be a person that defends corruption, but I will be a person that says, if you check all the laws that are fighting corruption in this country, are the laws that were produced by the same political party. I don't think me and you during our time, we even thought of something called the public protector. I don't think me and you in our time even thought about the SIU. I don't think me and you even thought about the Hawks. I don't think the Financial Intelligence Center where they monitor finance. I don't think that you can just have your bag and go and buy a car without you being tracked. So there are laws that have been put in place to fight this corruption, and I really feel that we need to strengthen them. But the reality is that there are still people that are doing wrong things, especially the tendering system and people who will not do their work but build the state and all other things. But I remain hopeful. I think South Africans are hurtful with corruption. If you can't switch on lights because there's no electricity, it's a symbol that we have messed up some of the things. If the traffic lights are not working, if people are staying in informal settlement because the budget that's supposed to build houses is no longer there, or people are going through pain because the police are not protecting them, because if you need to protect you, you must give them something before they can protect you. But I remain hopeful. We will fight, and we have no choice but to fight corruption.
I'm also one of those who remain hopeful about our country. I was very privy and was blessed to have had an opportunity to, from time to time, bump into you on certain projects when I was, doing a lot of work with my foundation and at Egurlen when you were in the education space at the time. And you were praised by a lot of people as one of the always available leaders, etc. And then came a lot of people got disappointed when there was a cloud around your head as well, around your name being mentioned about corruption of about 400 million. What happened there?
Well, at that time, and it still hurts me, I'm glad that I'm cleared, because indeed, I hate corruption, and there was no way that I can involve myself, because I really take society serious. What happened is that we were hit by COVID. Schools were shut down. And we didn't know this virus. And the Department of Health said schools must be cleaned to remove the virus in terms of deep cleaning and all other things. And the Department of Treasury then appointed people that must do that work. And during that period, people overpriced. The cleaning of a table, for example, instead of being either 30 rand, we'll say it's 90 rand. But because we are politicians, you don't appoint contractors, you don't. But when that information was brought to my attention, I felt, no, this is not something that I can be associated with. So I wrote to the SIU, I wrote to the Auditor General. I'm told that these things in the department, can you investigate? They investigated, interrogated everyone, including myself. I was interviewed. And I'm glad they released their final report. My name is not mentioned. I'm not there. I'm not even... and the Auditor General has also released a report that is not a fruitless expenditure. And the department was cleared. But there are people who did the thing. There are 4 of them. Their names were brought to my attention. Then I put up a team to investigate them. As I'm speaking to you now, they've been charged, and hopefully they will be dismissed from the department. But I can assure you, Spood, and I think even yourself, you deserve to know that my name is not even in that report, because I'll never do something to steal money from our people.
I was one of the people who was disappointed.
Yeah, I can imagine, but I can put you at ease. It can give you all the report, not even a single line about my name.
Thank you, and it's good to hear you say that. And I just wanted to congratulate you with your recent. You've just been recently elected.
Yes,
you won from the branches. They put you out as our new, the new chairperson in Gauteng of the African National Congress.
It's a huge task. I receive it with mixed emotions, to be quite frank. Excited that branches of the ANC have confidence in me. But the other part saddens me. How do you raise your hand and say, I'll lead when hospitals are getting used to not have medication? How do you raise your hand when every township has sewer flowing freely? How do you raise your hand when people don't have access to electricity? How to raise your hands when there's a lot of crime and lawlessness? People are kidnapped, people are shot in taverns. We can be seated here, somebody can just come here and do wrong things. So when you see the challenges, it makes you think, is it the right decision? But I remain hopeful it's the right decision. And I want to assure South Africans, especially people of Gauteng, that I will take this task with all the necessary skill, talent that God has given me to improve the lives of ordinary South Africans and continue with what I love, care, support, and protecting those that are weak and vulnerable.
I'm currently seeing leaders like Gauteng Mackenzie on the ground, sharing the good work they're doing in other provinces on social media, making a difference in their first 100 days. What difference are you going to bring? What is it that is different that you're going to bring to the table to the people of Gauteng?
I don't want to say wait and see, but I'll want to persuade wait and see. My view and my interest is simple, as Buddha. If you can't change the townships, you have not touched the lives of our people. If you can't change the hostels, you have not changed the lives of our people. If you can't bring the economy in rural areas, you have not changed the life of our people. So my deep focus is to ensure that, like we have CCTVs or cameras in the streets of suburbs, they must be in the township. Like you have security guards and in everywhere here, they must be in the township. There's no reason why all major streets in the township can't have free Wi-Fi. There's no reason why all our townships can't be clean. There's no reason why we can't create offices of government in the townships and people go and work there. There's no reason why businesses in the township can be supported by government. There's no reason why townships can be this kickstart of our economy to ensure that more people get jobs and opportunities. So my focus will be in the township, rural areas and hostels.
2024 elections are coming. A lot of people are disgruntled. Do you have confidence in the ANC to deliver in Gauteng?
Who else? In the absence of the ANC, what do we have? Do you have formations that are promoting race politics? Do you want to go back there?
You've got the EFF.
Take an organization like ACDP. It says does not want gays and lesbians. Do you think that's the South Africa you need? Take an organization like Freedom Front. You want everything to be in Afrikaans. Do you want an organization like that? Take the DA. If you are a better black person in that organization, they don't want you. Do you want South Africa to be like that? Take the EFF. They feel that there is a certain race that must only be protected. Other people must not be protected. Not protected in a sense of dispelling them, but in a more non-inclusive rather than building a truly non-racial South Africa. Do you want that? Do you have an organization that mobilize colored, like Gauteng Mackenzie, to say they only stand for the right of colored people? They don't stand for the rights of other people. Do you want that? So in the absence of the African National Congress that is all-inclusive, gender balance, taking care of the weak and vulnerable, supporting them with free education, supporting them with free bursaries at universities, supporting them with all the things that people need in our communities. There's no alternative to the African National Congress. So I always say to members of the ANC, there are three things. One, protect those that continue to love the ANC and vote for it, but don't take advantage of their love for the ANC. Two, change those that have doubts about the ANC so that their doubts can be converted into support. Thirdly, make sure that those who hate the ANC must not have a new reason to hate the ANC. Because if they don't have a new reason of corruption, if they don't have a new reason of poor leadership, if they don't have a new reason of a cost of living in terms of electricity, fuel, and other things, then they will see that the African National Congress is a better organization. So come 2024, we don't want to sound arrogant. We believe that we need to have an agile ANC that is friendly, responsive, that fights for our people, that is not inward focused, an ANC that can get rid of its deadwood within the leadership and be an ANC that liberated our people. And I don't think that there's any alternative movement in our country except the ANC. You can check even the voting patterns. Yes, the numbers might be decreasing, There's no single political party that has half of the support of South Africans. If they have to have half, we must bring them together. We have given them to run local government elections. In Tshwane, Eskom was about to switch off Tshwane because the municipality could not pay electricity. In Ekurhuleni today in Tembisa, it's a shutdown because people feel that the municipality is increasing municipal fees without taking into consideration their situation. And so people were marching about electricity there. So even in the absence of the ANC, no one has either grow. They've grown their product or their political party. They're still stuck in the challenges that we have. So you have to give the African National Congress that opportunity. People have given us that opportunity for the last 28 years. But in the absence of the African National Congress, it's very difficult to have these conglomerates of people that differ so much to run the government. We'll be in a worse situation than where we are now.
I would like to hear your take on, you've just mentioned about other political parties that are promising to only focus on certain races. But then you've got other people who say, but our current president is bought by what people would call the white monopoly capital.
Well, labeling is it's something that irritates me. When you started More Fire, what did people say? They labeled you. Many ways to say, no, you can't. You are a front for certain institution and other things. I hate labeling without evidence. If there's evidence that is controlled by monopoly capital, let those that argue do that. But the reality is that our president is going through difficulties. I'm one of those people who say the current scandal has taken us 10 steps backwards. And it's a serious matter that the president must address. And I'm glad that the president said he will cooperate with law enforcement agencies. And I'm glad that even institutions of the state, like the Office of the Public Protector, are not treating him like a special citizen, that treat him like any other ordinary citizen, they're subpoenaing him. And those are the things that encourages us about our country, that you might be a president. If you have done something wrong, you will be called to account. So let's allow that process to unfold. I think some of us are watching it closely, because if the president said, I'll cooperate, I hope he will indeed cooperate.
It's quite interesting where the country is going. People are talking about coalition governments. Are you highly confident that on the next elections, ANC will promise to the people and deliver? Because what pisses people off is that around election time, there is campaigning, there's all these promises, and they feel politicians disappear after.
But we're the only country that have elections every month or every 2 years. We don't have elections after 5 years. We have election literally. You can be called now to say there are by-elections where you stay. Yeah. There were local government election 2 years ago, November last year. We're going to 2024. So campaigning is going to be order of the day. You can't say people must not campaign. But I doubt coalition governments are good for our country. I'm one person that believes that you just can't bring people who disagree fundamental and differ on many issues, and just because they hate one organization, they group together and say we want this organization to be out of order. You had Nelson Mandela Bay, what happened? It collapsed. You had Johannesburg here, what happened? It collapsed. You had many municipalities that could not perform on the basis that they are coalition governments, because coalition governments by definition, they are unstable. But it does not mean it must force South Africans just to vote for a party that is not doing anything for them. I'll be the last one to endorse that mentality. We must work for the votes. There must be benefits for the votes. There must be change. There must be service delivery. There must be things that will make life to be easy for people. For example, education, safety. People must not fear their own shadows in their own houses, because people can do as they wish. So I'm not a proponent of coalition government, but I'm a strong believer of the African National Congress, because this is the movement that can protect everyone. I mean, we are now on podcast. I doubt you thought that legislation will not allow you to do these things. The legislation that passed by who? The African National Congress. There were no YFMs of this world who enabled the starting of those kind of things. It's the African National Congress. Our women were not allowed to do certain work. They were not given opportunities. Who said there must be 50% employment equity? It's the African National Congress. It's just that the issue of corruption and lack of service delivery in certain areas make us to forget where we come from and the things that we have put in this particular country. And I really believe that the African National Congress deserve a chance and must be given that opportunity to advance. But it must not be blind loyalty. Where we fault, where we make mistakes, and people must make us to account.
You're saying you're not a proponent of coalition governments, but somebody else can say, yeah, but there's factionalism within the actual ANC.
And that is what I'm saying. People should hold us accountable. If there is factionalism, elect a party that does not have factionalism. And they allow that party to lead the country so that we learn from our factional interest to say they're not taking us forward and they're not assisting government or the country. But I'm not a proponent of coalition governments. I mean, the example of what is happening now in Tembisa today, it's exactly that. People said, let's vote ANC out. They voted ourselves out. We sat in the opposition benches, but people still complain about what? Lack of water, the price of municipal bills, and the things that they were used to get and that they're not getting. You know, an ANC government was giving people free water, free electricity, a certain portion of electricity. When the opposition coalition came, they cancelled those things. Today, people are protesting because they're used to have those particular kind of things. So some coalition governments are out of touch with reality and with our people.
A lot of people are saying when SOEs get privatized, a lot of services, we won't be able to afford them, especially as black people. Selling off of the SOEs?
I don't support that. I'm of the view that you need to strengthen the capacity of the state to deliver its services. If you're going to build RDP houses, what's wrong building a company of the state to build RDP houses? Because you'll need them. Do you think that you need somebody to deliver medications? You can have a company of the state. It's just that with state-owned enterprises that didn't perform well, people felt that anything that is state-owned is bad. I don't think so. I mean, take Telkom, it's state-owned, the 40%, Telkom is doing well. And there are many companies that I know that are owned by the state that are also doing well. Your Transnet of this world and other things. But you have to understand the purpose of why that state-owned enterprise was established. You can't be rigid with it. So we need to move with times. A product needs to be agile, needs to be repurposed, repackaged, and find its way to deal with these things. I mean, let's take Centec, for example. It's a state-owned enterprise that makes it possible for us to communicate what we're doing. It's a government. It's doing well. Many radio stations are broadcasting through Centec signals and other things. It's a state-owned enterprise. So if we have 3 or 4 state-owned enterprises that are not doing well, you can't just be saying all of them are bad. SAA, ESCOM, DINEL, and therefore everything must be bad. I mean, I follow how the SABC has been repackaged. There are some programs that you never thought you'll see them on an SABC platform. Today you can see them. So we need to move with times. If you don't move with times, you lose audience, and if you lose audience, you lose advertising revenue. If you lose advertising revenue, you can't be in a position to sustain that station. So I believe in state-owned enterprises. I really believe the government need a pharmaceutical company. I'm one person that believes that we need to have what we call the national health insurance. Any South Africans must go to any hospital of their choice, whether it's private or public. You must not die on the basis that you don't have a medical aid. So the state must come into that. And if you check the areas where the cost of living is increasing, it's areas where the state must play its role. Education, for example. How many of us are spending more money on education, private education, because public education is not good? Health. How many people are spending more money on medical aid because public health is not good? Police. How many people are buying alarms, gates, and other things because there's no police? So we need to improve on those public goods for people to enjoy life in our country.
A lot of people speak about the former president's years as 9 wasted years. Your take?
No, I don't think they were wasted. Yes, that's why I told you I hate labeling without facts. Were there no university built during that period? They were there. I mean, we've got new 2 universities in Mpumalanga and Northern Cape. Did you not introduce the student aid in terms of the first-year student getting free bursaries in universities? They did. Did not defeat HIV/AIDS during that period? Mother-to-child transmission was basically eliminated. We did. Didn't we have proper medication for people that were dying of HIV/AIDS? We did. So there are many things that happened around there. In terms of leadership, yes, there were challenges, but you can't say all the 9 years things didn't go where we wanted to go. I hate labeling, actually. So I hate when people will just label you without giving you an opportunity to express your views.
Is our current president getting the second term?
Well, you have to go through the difficulty that is going through first. We have to learn from history. We went through difficulties when President Jacob Zuma went through lots and lots of accusations and cases. We indicated our love for him. We indicated our support for him. In the ultimate end, those particular cases continued. So our president must quickly clear what is currently facing. I'm excited that he's saying he's cooperating with law enforcement agencies. And then if you go through those particular matters, I think South Africans will determine whether they're giving him a second chance or not.
Some of us were too young at the time, and we hear these words being thrown around, and a lot more of us are starting to get more and more interested in politics. What happened at CODESA?
Well, young people must understand the political decision our leaders needed to take. You had a mighty apartheid army, and you also had our army called Umkhonto weSizwe, APLA, and many others that belong to the Black Consciousness movement. And the reality was, it was going to take us many years for us to overthrow that regime through military force. So we used international pressure, and we also used sanctions and many other things to pressurize the apartheid regime to relinquish power. So the combination of the armed struggle, the combination of international solidarity, combination of mass mobilization, pushed the apartheid regime to the negotiating table. And you could not say we don't want to negotiate. We felt that we can have a transitional government, and after transitional government, have what we call one man, one vote, what we have now, where people should vote for government of their choice. So CODESA was a transitional arrangement to take power from the apartheid regime and hand it over to the hands of our people. And I can tell you now, our leaders did well, exceptionally well. Obviously, there are compromises that some of us felt that were not necessary, but under those circumstances, I think they did well. Here we are. We've got a bloodless transition where we didn't have what is happening in Ukraine and Russia. We didn't have bombs getting off all over. And so we had a peaceful transition. The only challenge is that after that peaceful transition, we didn't follow up on matters that affected ordinary South Africans. We felt if you have a constitution, a Bill of Rights, and you've got a strong judiciary and strong legislature in terms of parliament, then everything would fall into places. The reality is that you needed a strong government to protect the weak and the vulnerable. But we have learned, and I hope we will be in a position to rectify that. But CODESA was a necessity. CODESA was a crucial tool, a crucial vehicle to bring us where we are today.
The TRC, the Truth and Reconciliation Commission?
Including the TRC. The TRC was a very important tool, a very important vehicle for reconciliation, a very important institution to dig the debt of the apartheid regime and to pave the way for reconciliation. But the reality is, people that did bad things to us, didn't go to the TRC, and we failed to follow up. And those that went to the TRC, we didn't make them to pay the price of their sins. But also we have South Africans that didn't ask for forgiveness. We had an assumed forgiveness, and on the basis of the assumed forgiveness, you still have racists that feel they can do as they wish. They can shoot a black person and say they thought it was a hippopotamus. A black person can go to a restaurant and ask for salt. Instead of giving salt, you attack that particular individual. Today in Delmas, there is a farmer that drove on top of 3 children that were just begging for chicken feet, and that particular farmer felt that he can attack them. So that's the price of not following up on the TRC recommendation and TRC work. But it was also another important institution in our country. It's just unfortunate that acts of racism are still there. And that's where I'm one of those people that believe that we need an anti-racism law in the country that can deal with racist mercilessly.
There's this growing narrative that our great leader, may so rest in peace, the icon, the legend, Utatu Mandela, sold us out.
No. I'll defend him with everything we have. If we didn't have Mandela, I doubt that we'll be here. The leadership that he provided, not only when he was the president of the country, even before, when he was the leader of the Youth League in the ANC, when he went to lead the ANC, when he went to establish Umkhonto weSizwe, when he was in prison, and when he was released in prison. So there's no way that Nelson Mandela can betray. Actually, if somebody who has made a sacrifice for our country to be where it is, it's him. And I'm fully aware of those that are throwing those accusations. I really believe it's people that are short-sighted. It's people that have forgotten where we come from as a country, and also are not interested in reading what Nelson Mandela did for us. I know he didn't do what he did as an individual. He did it as a part of a collective. But I'll defend the legacy of Nelson Mandela, whatever it takes, whatever it means. And I will never join the chorus of those that think that a person of his caliber, a person that had a huge responsibility to lead this country, that came out of such mistrust, a country that came out of such deep-seated racism, a country that was collapsing economically, and he managed to give us what we have now and say that particular individual is a sellout. Don't count me on the list of those people.
A lot of people saying a lot of what's going on in the country right now is because of what people would call, and a lot of us were young at the time, what is the sunset clause?
Well, the sunset clause is a transitional arrangement that keep what we are doing for now until we have built the capability. And I can tell you it assisted us. For example, keep the pilots that were flying the aeroplanes, because we didn't have black people that can fly the aeroplanes at that time. Keep some people in the army, because we didn't have ready-made people to take control of the army. Keep people in the broadcasting, because we didn't have people that can just walk in and change the broadcasting industry. So the sunset clause was say, while we are empowering, training our own people, let those that were oppressing us be in a position to occupy a strategic position until we had the responsibility to, or the capability to do that. And we did. I mean, the Reserve Bank, for example, was later controlled by a black person, Tito Mboweni. SAA was led by our people. Industries like the airwaves, we took over. So there might be, and there is merit there where people believe the sunset clause either were prolonged or took long. For example, in government, we said, de Klerk, don't leave, be part of government so that people can see that is an unracial government. But de Klerk left on his own accord, and many other people from the National Party. But there are many strategic institutions that we could not just say, walk away, we have taken over the country, go home, we will run this thing, when we didn't have the talent, the skill, and the capability at that time. And many people who had those things were still in exile. So we had to bring them back in the country first and take over. And many did, I mean, when Ekasi was established, for example, some of us were quite excited because we had people that were in exile running either a voice of freedom that took over those kind of responsibilities. So the sunset clause was also a transitional mechanism to allow us to be ready to run the country. And I think we are ready now. I mean, we have many people that are running the banks. We have many people that are running their own businesses. And it naturally died because we can take over and do things on our own.
A lot of people are complaining about there is a lot of old people in leadership, youth leadership, ANC, or even in government.
I believe in generational mix. Have everyone in leadership. It must not be on the basis of your age. It means you are entitled to lead. I mean, we grew up in this movement. We're still children. We're still young people and other things. So we're given time to grow and support. But I also despise where people feel that they can be leaders forever without giving other people an opportunity to lead or empowering other young people to lead. But a mixture of all ages, a mixture of all talents, of all skills will be something that I will support wholeheartedly.
For a lot of people who don't understand the hierarchy of how one rises up the ranks within the ANC, may you please just give us a simple, short political masterclass as to how do I rise up the ranks? Where does it start all the way to the president of the ANC?
Well, the ANC is, as you say, an organization that influenced by its own structures. For example, you start at a branch. From a branch, you go to a region. From a region, you go to a province. From province, you are national. That's how it's structured. And the NEC becomes the highest decision-making body, the National Executive Committee. And it's its own mandate that inspires the provinces. We've got 9 provinces, and from the 9 provinces, we've got 52 regions across the country. And from the 52 regions, we have got a series of branches. So you need to grow within those particular structures. But some people are too good that you don't even need them in a region. You can put them in a province or you can put them national. But it's dedication, commitment, understanding how the ANC works that will allow you to grow within the African National Congress. And I'm one person that wants to inspire young people to have an interest in politics, because if people will despise politician or interest of being in politics, then will not get good people to run the country. Politics influence many things. For example, I'm one person that believes you don't have to get political power, and from political power, then you migrate to economic power. As long as you have political power, we can get economic power immediately. You have the power to legislate, you have the power to pass laws, you have the power to regulate, and many other things. So if you can attract talented people across the spectrum of society, either you are engineers or you are accountants and other things within the political space, then you'll not understand how you pass laws that are relevant to that particular sector. And I know many people now say, no, I don't want to be a politician. Then if you don't want to be a politician, wrong people will be politician, and then the legislative mandate of government will be weakened if people don't understand what that legislation. So I call upon young people. This is a noble career. We need talented people to come and join it as well, and serve our people with the necessary discipline.
You've just given me structures of the ANC. Now, The ANC is not government, as much as the current government is being led by the ANC. Yeah. Now, let's talk about the structures in government. Give us a master class. What are the structures and how does that work? People here, judiciary, people here. I'm just talking about a layman in the street who doesn't understand.
Yes. I'm glad you are raising that question. There are 3 arms of the state. When you speak about the state, not government, the state, it includes 3 things. It's what we call the executive. The executive is cabinet that is led by President Cyril Ramaphosa. It's cabinet. And then we've got in the middle what we call the judiciary, which are the courts that do oversight over the executive. And then we've got the legislature, which is parliament. So we've got 3 legs. So you've got the executive, then you've got the judiciary, and then you've got parliament, and both of them combined is the state, all of them. But government is the executive, to say running government departments day to day. Then the judiciary. If you are not happy because of the work of government, then you go to the judiciary to challenge or make them to change a certain law. And for that law to be changed, then you need the parliament to pass the law so that you can be in a position to do whatever that you want to do. I mean, for example, the judiciary have been very busy on marriages, whether if you are married in community of property, should all the things that you have with between you and your wife still be separated or be combined. And the court said, no, change that law. Then parliament must sit, change that law and pass the law to ensure things done. So that's how government is structured. But government itself has its own layers. You've got 3 layers. You've got local government, which is your municipalities where you pay water and lights. We've got provincial government that run education and hospitals and ambulances. And then we've got national government that runs the police, the army, and all other things. So that's how government is structured in our country.
So this is a very big structure.
It's a huge machinery.
How does one family like the Guptas, capture this entire system? What happened there?
Well, the Guptas captured various government departments, to be quite frank. I mean, the report of Chief Justice Zondo is now clear evidence. They targeted certain departments like ESCOM, they targeted Transnet, and captured it. So I think the wording was wrong to say it's state capture, because it doesn't mean that they captured the judiciary, but there are certain departments that we learned from that. Spuda, I read that report. I told you I was influenced by the Freedom Charter, so that report was released before the commemoration of the Freedom Charter Day, and I said, our ancestors gave us the Freedom Charter. We are giving the next generation a Zondo report. So it hit home when I was reading that report. And what is in that report, I must be honest, it's embarrassing, shocking. And I hope the political party that I belong to would respond appropriately and correctly and decisively on the findings of that particular report.
Other people, they're saying it's a small part of what
capture is in the country.
Yeah, they're saying there's actually even a bigger capture.
Yeah, I support that view. We can't have the economy of our country controlled by few families, and majority of our people are in poverty, are trapped in poverty. If you check our country, it's the most unequal society in the world, And if you check the economic structure of our country, 3 families are controlling everything in our country, literally.
What are those families?
I don't think I've got enough bank balance to go toe to toe with them, but you all know them. But they control the country. Find the banking, it's them. The mining is them. The transportation is them. The mines and everything. So my view is that, and those are the areas when you said, is the ANC still relevant? It's the area where we need to go. We can't have 3 families or 1% of people controlling the economy of the country. It does not work that way. So we need to really tackle that, unpack it, and ensure that doesn't happen. Indeed, I share that view that the Gupta state capture compared to the broader, bigger state capture, it's nothing.
The land issue?
I support that. I really believe the land must be owned by the state, and the state must allocate that land on the basis of where the needs are. You can't have one family, for example. I mean, if you go to rural areas, you get one family owning everything. The majority of people, they're sharing not even a quarter of what family owns. So I support that land it was stolen anyway. It must be brought back to our people, and the state must be the custodian of it.
Should we nationalize the banks?
I don't support the view of nationalizing the banks, but I support the view of licensing. You can't have FNB having a lifelong license. It will not listen to you. You can't have ABSA having a lifelong license. They won't listen to you. You give you a license for 15 years. Within 15 years, must ensure you change the look and feel of townships so that when people apply for housing in the township, you can fund them, must give them business and many other things. I mean, when you want to buy a car, the banks will do what? They'll give you immediately. When you want to buy a house, they increase it for 70 years, 72 months or many years, and then you take your time. But when you say fund my business, they don't want to. So it must be legislated. I believe that that's the only way to transform them, including other institutions that are in the economy or controlling the economy. I'll give you an example. I don't agree with what Vodacom has done to Makate.
Please call me.
Please call me. Here's a young man, developed a concept, you agree. He goes to court agrees with him, and you drag the matter to every court, you get defeated in that court, and the state is folding in arms. Actually, the state continue even to use Vodacom as a service provider when you can intervene and say we are using our power as a state to force you to do what the court is saying, because the court says pay the young man, and we are not doing that for almost 23 years. So there are areas where I really believe the state must use its might, its power of buying power, but also the power of legislation to force certain institutions to adopt and move with the transformation agenda. But if we have FNB, we've got ABSA, we've got Nedbank, all these banks, they've got a lifelong license. Do you think they'll listen to you, Sbu?
No.
They'll never listen to you. But if they know their license will expire in the next 15 years, they know that within that 15 years before you renew the license, you'll have to check whether they've done what they need to do. Otherwise, our township will remain the way they are. Do you think when you come from a township and say, I want to borrow money to improve my shack, do you think ABSA will give you money? They won't. Mm-hmm. And it worked before. We grew Ekasi. There was a bank called PEM. Mm-hmm. PEM used to invest in the township and give you 2-room and garage, and you pay a PEM a certain amount per month. So we're not speaking about something that cannot be done. We are speaking about something that can be done. So I don't believe we need to either nationalize the bank, but we can establish what I call the state bank, a bank that is owned by the state. But all other banks must have a limited license. You can't have a lifelong license. I don't believe, for example, DSTV should give them a lifelong license to kill the public broadcaster. You must give them a license for 15 years. Well, at the same time, you strengthen the public broadcaster like the SABC. But this thing of dishing lifelong licenses to everyone that controls such strategic economic centers, I don't think it's fair. You give MTN a lifelong license. Yeah? You give Vodacom a lifelong license. They will not agree to a transformation agenda. They will not even take government serious because they've got a license. What more do they want from you? You give mines a lifelong license. We should have transformed all these mines if they were 15 years. And after 15 years, we say you didn't do what, we give it to another person that can advance the transformation. I'm a strong proponent of legislative power and using legislation to transform the economy.
Quickly, before I let you go, going back on another layman's question. What is the NDP document? What is the Freedom Charter also? Those two.
The National or the NDP, it's a plan of the country.
National Development Plan.
Yeah, it's a plan of the country to say, where do you want to see the country by 2030? And many of the things are there. For example, to eradicate bucket system, to improve the element of education, to eliminate the mother-to-child transmission in terms of HIV/AIDS, to ensure that we build more universities. Our children in universities take certain courses. So the National Development Plan, it's meant to be a mirror of the society we need, an ideal South Africa that we need. And that is why some of us support it. But we really believe it must be reviewed because some of those targets have been achieved before 2030. So we need to review them rather than say we've achieved and then fold our arms. Things like population growth. I mean, the population has grown too much that some of those particular targets might need to be revised. While the Freedom Charter on the other side is a document of the people, it's not a government document. NDP is a government document, but the Freedom Charter is not a government document. It's a people's document to say
people's
what kind
document, meaning is that the ANC document?
No. The ANC adopted it. It's people that met in Cape Town and say, hey, we want the South Africa that is non-racial. We want the wealth of the country to be shared amongst. We want the doors of learning to be open. So the ANC just adopted it as a guiding document. Many leaders of the ANC played a critical role in its formation. So it's a people's document. It's not a government document, whereas the NDP is a government document that set certain targets of the kind of South Africa we want and the kind of South Africa we want to leave to our children.
It's incredible that you've given us your time. I really appreciate you.
Thank you.
Congratulations with all of your achievements and rising up the ranks.
Much.
Before you go, this video is going to exist forever. What are you promising the people of Gauteng that when we watch this video 5 years from today, you would have achieved to have done for the people of Gauteng specifically?
Is to convert townships into smart townships. Our townships are our lives, are our people. If we can leave townships the way they are, bro, the ill or the bad things that the apartheid regime did to us will be attributed to the freedom movement. The wrong things that are in... So I'm a product of Ekasi. I don't want to go down the grave with the same Kasi the way it is. We need to improve it, change it, the look and feel, invest in the township and ensure the economy of the township become the economy that can make all of us proud. Safety, and cleanliness so that we can be in a position to have a better township. So that's my commitment.
Okay, lastly, immigration?
Well, illegality is illegality in any form, content and character. If you are illegal in a certain country, the country has the right to protect itself. But if you are legal in the country also have the right to protect you. I'm one person that believes that if you come to a country legally, the country must be merciless to you. We can't tolerate people that can come to our country legally and do wrong things, and we've got evidence. But those that are bringing skills, talent, and those that are creating opportunity for our people, as long as they're legal, must be protected as well. But illegality is something that I hate with a passion because you can't do that in our own country. And there are many people that are coming to our country to do wrong things, and we must stop that.
So would I say you agree with what Operation Tutula is doing?
I agree with elimination of lawlessness. I don't think that there should be people outside the law, the state, that's the police or law enforcement agencies. And we have people that are doing the work that they're supposed to be done by the state. I believe the state must play its role. If there are community formations that want to assist the state, good. They must assist the state, must through properly through government.
Do you have future presidential aspirations?
No.
Answer it before I could finish the question.
No.
Why not?
No. No.
Okay. No. But what if the branches...
I love my privacy. I love my freedom. I love my openness, frankness. I've got views that I think if you become a head of state, you may compromise the country. So I'm fine. I'm fine where I am when I'm. If I become a president, maybe I'll be president of Swallows FC.
Hey, before you go, let's talk about Swallows. By the way, let's talk about Swallows. One of the legendary South African teams. Let's talk about it. You grew up supporting Swallows, and right now you are also part of the leadership of Swallows.
Yes. I remember it was 1983, Ekasi. Swallows was playing a Men's State Cup final, Ellis Park Stadium. I think we bet there, so all of us were asked to do things. I sneaked out. went to Sangweni, taxi rank there. When I was a taxi to the stadium, I went inside. 1983, we went to watch Swallows. They won. And then ever since, my blood is maroon and white. I love them. I love the team. And it's history now that I'm part of the team, and I really love it.
The future is bright.
One day, what's about
So what are the plans there?
No, the plans is to grow the brand to be a big brand internationally, and also to compete in our continent as well. But we're still far from that. So that is why I said it can concentrate for now and leave others to push the brand as well. But it's big. I support them.
Mr. Panyaza Lesufi, I appreciate your time.
Ngiyakuncanya Brian kakhulu.
Ngicela ungangidisappoint ku-leadership. Ekasi sesithembele kuwe.
Thara.
Sithembele kini, sicela ukuthi ushaye isipani Grootman,
I want
ngingabheki
him,
ngibe
Manam.
disappointed.
I want
Ngiyacela
him,
Grootman.
Manam. I want him, Manam. As you say, I'll make everyone proud because I believe in our people, and I really believe we must not take advantage of what our people look upon us or what our people think we should do. So we should always make them proud wherever they see us. And I'm glad that it's almost 30 years or so. We still remain hopeful that we can make things much better. But I also want to thank you on your new venture, this podcast. You are an amazing risk taker. So I wish you well, and hopefully one day so shy show you to see song as it.
Your last words to the people. Look at them at the camera. What would you like to say to South Africans?
Our country is a beautiful country. Let's defend it. Our country is something that other people envy us. It's not a country that can be protected or cared by one group or one person or one political party. It needs to be cared by all of us. And I want to urge you as South Africans, remain firm, strong, supportive, and let's build this country so that we can leave a better country to our children and those that come after them. Thanks.
Ngiyabonga kakhulu Grootman.
Ola.
God bless you, leadership.
Echara.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Panyaza Lesufi. See you on the next video.
This is the Hustler's Corner.